Hi there everyone. The theme of this video is very much the theme of my spiritual life, and I dare say one or two of you out there as well. And this is this battle between the temptations that play to the fallen nature we have, the lower nature, and that which pushes or orients itself more towards the transcendent, the divine still part of ourselves that results in health and well-being. Now, I've had many examples of this battle throughout my life, and only really in my 30s did I start to understand it properly. In my 20s, I just fell into all of the temptations of the world, which, if you like, had quite a dark connection with my lower nature, in the sense of pulling me into behaviours, attitudes, and things which weren't really beneficial for me or society, but I'd been convinced were. Women is a good example. I've shared before in my early 20s, I just couldn't figure out the world. I tried to be the kind of liberal guy. That was the upbringing I had. That's what you do, right? And I just found I just got ignored and forgotten, basically. And then I discovered the red pill and started engaging in that. And all of a sudden, I was popular with the ladies and I could live this life in London, which now I'd see as degenerate, but back then seemed like the best thing you could do, where you're hooking up with a new woman every other week. And, that was fun for a while, although deep down I'm never sure I truly enjoyed it. But it was part of my lower nature, it was this desire to get laid, this desire to be popular. And again, there's a worldly element to that. It's not real power. It's not true power. True power is saying no. But back then, I didn't have any idea of things like that. So it had to play out over time, and I realised, look, I think this is making me a bit unhealthy. I don't value sex as much anymore. I find it hard to connect properly in terms of a deep emotional connection with a woman. It means also I find it hard to say no to sex. And as I've said in many videos, if you can't say no, you'll never truly develop into a mature man. If we can't say no to worldly temptations, we'll always be controlled by them. And then on top of that, I had to look at the effects that the hookup culture was having, not just on me, but society at large. I've said before, some of it's unfair. Lots of men are just getting forgotten because lots of other men are just sleeping around, with loads of women. And the women themselves, although, of course, it was all consensual, but I started to think, but they're probably brainwashed by liberalism too, to think that banging a load of dudes is some achievement, strong, independent woman. I think, no, that's not what I think. I think this is actually quite damaging. And what I'd like to see is strong, healthy communities, strong, healthy families. And that's what I believe is ethical. So, of course, I had to then try and live that way. And it took a lot of time. I had to work on it spiritually, personally. When I met my wife, it was almost like with her, we went through almost a period of me healing from all that sort of stuff and learning to be more balanced in a relationship, learning to stop chasing every half-decent looking woman you see. And of course, it's rewarding in the long run, but it's hard in the short term. Money and status is another famous one. I can't say I've ever had plenty of that, but I've had my little taste of it in a small way. And working for corporations in London and ended up doing things that just aren't right with your soul. Now, I do sympathise with people who don't have a choice in that regard, if they've just got to earn money. In that sense, that a noble aim is overtaking, perhaps something which isn't so genuine. But in my case, I did think, look, I'm just becoming someone I don't want to be. Some corporate guy, yeah. I thought, I'm selling out my own soul here. And again, I had to go back and do something that felt a bit more stable. Another example is the Richard IV channel itself. When the main channel took off, I didn't expect it to explode. I thought it's just a little vent channel, let's see what happens. But it exploded. And then you get in the algorithm and the addiction to the algorithm of wanting to get another video that, gets even more views or over 100,000 views and another, 200 subscribers in a day or whatever. But in time, I started to think, yeah, but is this healthy? Is it healthy for me? Is it healthy for the people that are watching the channel? Of course, that's up for them to decide, but it did make me think, what world am I entering here? What world am I promoting? Is it fundamentally healthy? Does it coalesce and correspond with that higher part of me, or does it speak to a lower part of me? And I had to say, yeah, a lot of it speaks to a lower part of me, and maybe a lower part of others too, in the sense of being a bit excessively outrageous, trying to get the clicks, capital letters in the titles, that sort of thing. And I'd say, yeah, do you know what? I don't think this is where it's at. It's been fun, it's been a bit of a ride, but once I've realised it, I've got to be honest and start to try and make some changes. And I think I did a while back. In many ways, I'm still trying to make those changes. In this channel is probably the apex of that, really trying to do something that really helps, or hopefully helps someone out there. So again, whenever I go through these experiences, which are many, because like any man, I'm prideful and not perfect, I have to try and realize as quickly as I can and then act on whatever that truth may well be. And that is trying to adhere to the right line in that fallen divine dynamic. It's not about being perfect, it's about acknowledging where we may be falling, where we may be slipping. And it's really sad because in one sense I feel very lucky to have had these experiences and to be able to connect with other people in my life who have these too and understand its importance in the view of the tradition. What I mean is, in the modern world, this stuff is so important for us spiritually. Your life depends on it. It really does. The outcome of your life depends on this stuff. But we just don't even think about these spiritual truths anymore because, they're not, quote, scientific. Now, again, the point here isn't for me to say that money is somehow bad or dating women is bad. These things can be done in the right way where you can learn and develop in a healthy manner. The aim here is to try and be as genuine as you can with that soulful stillness inside of you. It's all about the energy that you're leading from, and how do we know, what energy we're working from? Well, a really simple gauge, in my experience, is just being still and listening to your body, to your mind, to your spirit, to your soul. Connecting with God in meditation, prayer, whatever works for you. Connecting with other trusted men who you feel are deep and open enough to tell you the truth. And what we'll tend to find quite quickly is there'll be an inner turmoil. And if there is any inner turmoil, then it's a sign that something isn't fitting right. Because you have a divine nature, whether you like it or not. It doesn't matter if you believe in it or not. If you do sin against that nature, you will find yourself in pain. It's just a rule of life. And again, the modern world ignores all of this, but we see it time and time again. How many celebrities, how many Russell Brands and Johnny Depps and Brad Pitts have to say, I had it all, the money, the women, but then they had to go to some addiction recovery thing or acknowledge that wasn't what they were looking for. It's because they were lost in worldly temptations. I'm not saying that having sex with supermodels and having millions of pounds isn't going to be fun. I'm sure it's amazing for a few years. But as always in life, it will run out. It's why Hugh Grant, if you've ever seen this woman, he was going out with Liz Hurley in the 90s and he hooked up with this big fat black prostitute in LA. And you have these pictures of him where he's holding up, the police sign, and he looks so guilty. But again, that's just a man who's addicted to the temptations of the world. I'm not judging him. We can all fall into that. The point is, he had everything, but he still wanted something else because he already had everything. What he really needs is to go to that transcendent place within, to connect with real people, real men on a mission. Now again, if we can't see that, and some unfortunate souls can't, we're going to have to look at external damage in the world. And that shouldn't be judged by how much money am I making, how many women like me. Because a lot of men can be popular with women, but be quite dark people. There's no surprise there. So again, we have to be very aware of our effects on the world. And if we can't figure that out, then we are cruising for a bruising. We really are. Life is going to whack us eventually. Something will go badly wrong. Ultimately, the measure that we're talking to here is a measure of love. Am I acting in love? Or am I acting in a lower worldly self? And remember, when I say love, as I have to point out because of the modern world, we don't mean American Hollywood movies like, Stacey, you're my life. That's not love. This is just a modern nonsense. Now, when we say love, what I mean is something more like 100% truthful to yourself, 100% truthful to God. One saying I try and live by is, I always have to be honest about something that's bothering me with myself, with God and another man. And then usually it's cleared because it's a complete open passageway for the deep truth of my soul to be seen and shared. And that tends to heal me in time. Now, sometimes the healing won't come immediately because there's a lesson to learn. We have to go into some form of darkness or let go of something. And eventually, if we're sincere, we will find the right teaching or teacher. So again, the world won't care about any of this stuff. It'll just call it stupid. Go and make money, bang the women, have the right ideology, be woke or whatever it is these days. But these things are all worldly. What really matters isn't the external so much as the state of your soul. And as I say, there's a medium to be met there. If you want to have a lot of money so you can exercise your passion in life, help other people with it, whatever it is you want to do, and have a nice wife and some kids and take care of them and have a bit of money in your bank account and a nice car. Nothing wrong with that. But when it veers into this area of it getting into that addictive energy, that darker energy, it will destroy us all, And they're the harsh realities of life. But once we adhere to them, once we get on that spiritual path, on that plane, and we are honest with ourselves, it's amazing what can happen. Even if your life sucks externally, if you're in the right place internally, you will be happier than a man with millions of pounds banging all the prostitutes and models and whatever else, because he's still seeking something in the world. That is the great spiritual truth. So I hope this helps someone out there. Do bear in mind the Substack is linked down below. That's where you can get exclusive content, interact with me, and we've got group work and courses and all sorts coming down the line. In the meantime, do subscribe to the channel if you're new and let me know your thoughts below. Have a great rest of the day. Keep fighting the good fight.